The only team that I would think right now that maybe I would have higher chance would be G2, but I think on FlyQuest we are really playing well together.
Alright, today was another day at Worlds 2024 in the Swiss stage, and in this interview is sponsored by Holy. I'm in the presence of Inspired, the jungler of FlyQuest, and today it was certainly a match against PSG. It was very close. The early game didn't go so well. How do you feel after this win? Are you still happy, I guess, overall?
Yeah, I'm happy that we won. Obviously, I think our execution for like early mid game was like a bit. I don't know. I feel like we were a little bit too aggressive against enemy champs because enemy team picked like for full playmaking. Like they played Vayari, which like really wants to fight early, and I felt like they didn't really do a good job early because they gave us grabs for free. I think we had like 5 grabs. Then they also took first Drake very late, and they gave us second Drake. So that basically tells us that we don't have to fight them for like a very long time, and that's kind of what our champs wants. But I feel like we were trying to be a bit too aggressive too early in the game. That's why we died a couple of times. But after that, I think we just calmed down and waited for our item spikes and play according to our comp, and that's why the game looked pretty smoothly after we won one team fight.
Yeah, and I mean, so far the story of FlyQuest at Worlds has been a bit, I guess, mitigated because like you got 2-1 score right now, but you have to know that like obviously you got wins against GAM and PSG, which are both like playing teams, so they're like weaker opponents kinda. And now you're sitting there and you have 2 more opponents to play potentially in best of 3s. So I mean, how do you feel about the current chances of the team in general? I know that recently you said like the format is a bit 50-50 obviously, and it feels that way especially with these matchups, but like are you confident like facing I guess Eastern teams in the next round as well?
I mean, I wouldn't say we are confident in facing them. I feel like the draw helped us for sure a lot. Like I wouldn't say. I mean, I'm sure of that. The fact that we are not better than BLG, which is like 1-2. I think just because of the easy draw that we got, and I think if we right now gonna play against obviously one of the strongest teams of the tournament, like no matter who we draw, and then hopefully we get the favorable draw for the knockout stage, like for the last round to make it to the Swiss. Overall, like the format is pretty weird because like the weaker team, as I would say we are a weaker team. I don't think like we are necessarily better than Asian teams. I think we can compete with them, but I think we need to be like very creative with the champions and like kind of surprise them in the game, because I think if you play just normal game against those teams, you are not a better team. I think just like watching their play style, I can instantly tell they're practicing this through the whole year, while once we get to Worlds we kind of try to copy it, and I don't really like that part. I feel like we don't have enough time to copy it, so we have to just do what's been working for us and try to do something different than them and win the game that way. So I think we are definitely weaker teams on paper, but maybe we can surprise them with our creativity.
Yeah, and I know recently you've had some takes on like EU against NA and stuff, and like the fact that like NA in general, like the structure is not as good, right? And with the ERLs and stuff. But I want to ask like in general, because especially this Worlds, it feels like the West is further away from the LCK and LPL than ever before almost. Like the level of teams seems to be a bit rough right now, and I'm speaking as a European, right? But what do you think is going on right now? Because I know Bwipo like talks a lot about bringing back the formula and like how the teams are lazy and stuff, but what do you think is going on? Why is the West not able to compete more with like Eastern teams from LCK LPL?
I feel like they just have different mindset while coming up as players. Like I feel like they value the team game more and they treat the game a bit differently. Like while NA and EU people are like looking really highly on like highlights and flashy plays, they are like very strict with the way they draft and the way they use their champs and the way they use their time in the game. So it just feels like they just look at the game from like more outside perspective, while EU and NA teams are kind of like egoing, trying to fight 2v2, trying to fight 3v3, and on top of that their mechanics are also like insane, so it's not even doable like to outplay them most of the time. So I feel like most of the time when EU or NA team is beating the Asian team, it's because they surprise them with some certain play or some certain draft, and I think that's like the recipe for us to win. And why is that? I think it's just because, as I said, I think from the get-go they just have different mindset coming into like becoming a pro player. Like once they start practicing, they instantly think about like a team game and how to play together, while in EU and NA everyone is just focusing on mechanics.
Yeah, and I know also in another interview recently you talked about your goals for Worlds, and you said that like obviously like making quarters was a bit 50-50, depends on like what draw you get, and you didn't have like some specific goals but just wanted to get as far as possible. And I mean, I want to ask because obviously for you it's been the fourth time at Worlds and you haven't made it to quarterfinals a single time. So I can imagine it's very frustrating, right? How do you feel towards this? Because I know like right now you're kind of like going with the flow and stuff, but deep down, like, do you feel frustrated that you guys are not able to make it at least so far?
I mean, I was a bit mad at it, like when I was on Rogue and we had tiebreaker against NA team to make it to quarterfinals. Like I felt like that was the moment that I should have made it, and I didn't manage to. So that was the only time that I was like really frustrated about it. Other than that, I felt like like the other two times I made it, our team didn't really deserve it, and we just lost in group stages. And this time I think the format is way different than it used to be, so you don't really know like if you are even better than your opponents because you don't even know who you are going to end up facing. So I don't know, I don't really focus on the fact if we're going to make it out or not. Hopefully I can make it out, because as you said I never did, so it would be a good achievement for me. But I think we are just trying to play our best league and our best style.
Yeah, and I mean, speaking of that, like, I just want to ask, like, regarding your career and stuff, because you're like still considered to this day like one of the best junglers in NA and technically in EU as well, even though you don't compete there right now. But like, do you feel sometimes like you kind of like missed your shot almost because of not having been able to make it to quarters back then? And do you sometimes like feel afraid that like you're not going to be able to get to that spot again, or is it not a worry for you?
I mean, it's not really a worry to me. I feel like I mean, I'm obviously trying to do that every year. If I will end up never making it, well, I guess I was not meant to do that. But I think I will eventually manage to get a good run internationally. Maybe not this year, maybe not next year, but I still have a few years to try. So I'm gonna keep doing my best.
Fair enough. And I mean, right now you're in the LCS and you're also, I believe, contracted until next year anyways to FlyQuest. I mean, we don't know what's going to happen, but like regardless, I want to ask, do you think that you can achieve these goals while in NA as well? Or is for you like maybe the idea to someday return to EU as well and try there as well again?
I think the chances are very similar. I think we have a really strong team on FlyQuest, and I don't think I would have like way different odds of making it on EU team. I feel like our team is a good mix of like young talent and veterans that kind of lead the game. So I don't think there is any other team that I would choose right now to play for that would like increase my chances. Obviously, you could think about G2, which I mean they have caps, and he's obviously like the clutch factor that usually makes it out. But yeah, I guess if the only team that I would think right now that maybe I would have higher chance would be G2, but I think on FlyQuest we are really playing well together, and that's why we won LCS, and hopefully that's why we will be able to make it to colors.
Yeah, and one aspect that I find interesting as well is that oftentimes we hear a lot about like NA or even EU fans that like are almost like disillusioned when they go into Worlds and they don't even expect anything from their teams anymore. And does that like put pressure on you guys as well to perform harder? Because it feels like almost if EU or NA doesn't wake up in the next few years, esports in those regions might like slowly start to die even, and it could be like threatening for even your job or like anyone's job in the future. Do you feel like some pressure from that?
I mean, definitely, like that's a good point. Like that feels pressure because you just feel like if you will always keep losing, like maybe the esports will not really have fans anymore because fans will just get annoyed by the fact that we always lose. But I mean, there is not much we can do about it. We are trying our best, and when we get to Worlds, we try practicing as much as possible to close the gap that is being made like for the whole year. And I think it's possible, obviously, for the team to get a good run, but you have to have a mix of luck and also really good performance. So yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't think the pressure is like to the point that it affects our gameplay, but obviously everyone wants to do their best, so you have a little bit of pressure because you know that people are watching you and hoping that finally EU or NA team will have a good run, and whenever you fail, it just feels like you missed another shot, so that feels kind of bad.
Yeah, and I mean, also, I know Bippo was very vocal about like paycheck stealers and like teams that just go to Worlds and do nothing, right? But do you think that at least the LEC and LCS are like in a good direction right now, or like sending teams like MDK or 100 Thieves, for example, at Worlds?
I mean, you don't really like choose who you send, right? Like if it would be like you choose who you send, then you could consider like sending the best team. But like if you finish third, you are the best third team in the league. So I think. I mean, in NA, I think if C9 went to Worlds, then NA would be stronger as a region because I think they were a really strong team, especially like mechanically. I feel like Berserker and Jojo would contest with the players here better than 100 Thieves players did. But in EU, seems like the strongest three teams went. Like I was watching BDS, maybe they were a little bit stronger than Mad Lions, but like Mad Lions had better results, so it's hard to tell. So I think EU and I both sent like decent teams for Worlds.
Yeah, fair enough. And I guess just my last question, because we're starting to run out of time, is just before you retire, what do you think is like your goal? Because I mean, we always talk about like getting a good Worlds run. We talk about making it to quarters and stuff. But like, what is your goal, like realistically? Is it still winning Worlds, or is it something that you think is a bit hard? What do you want to like achieve minimum at least?
I mean, I want to be the GOAT of the region. Like right now, I'm playing in NA. I want to be the best player like in NA once I retire.
Yeah.
So I need to win a lot more trophies than I did right now. Obviously, it would be nice if I already managed to win LEC, because then I would have trophy in both regions.
Yeah.
So it's still always in the back of my mind that maybe I should come back to EU to win once here as well. But I'm not sure if that's ever gonna happen. But yeah, the main goal, I think, I just want to become like known the best player in the league and retire as a GOAT. Yeah.
Yeah, fair enough. Well, I mean, you are technically already like one of the GOATs in the league. I mean, you've gotten some MVP titles, right? But that is about all the time anyways that we have today. So do you have some words for the fans as well before we close off?
Thank you guys for cheering for us, even though we lost to DK and our game didn't look too great there today. I think we played decently well, not really, but like I think we had a good draft and we played toward our win condition at some point. So the game was a bit boring again, like our first win, but we managed to win, and hopefully you guys will keep cheering for us, even though if our game is not gonna be looking that great, like maybe we'll get 3 strong opponents, but just so you know, we are trying our best and we try our best to win.
Perfect. Well, I hope that you're not going to draw T1, I guess, in the next round, especially after the win against VLG. Yeah. But yeah, thank you so much for talking with us today. For viewers, just as a reminder, as always, we are sponsored by Holy. Make sure to use the code SE5 at checkout for €5 discount on any purchase. Inspired, thank you again. I wish you the best of luck in the rest of the tournament. I hope we're going to be able to talk to you again, because you're always amazing to talk to. You say so much about the game and stuff. It's really interesting. So yeah, for now, good luck in the rest of the